thank you for coming out. We specifically wanted to do this presentation live and in person with you because yes, we can do this online, and I just want to let you know that it is being recorded and that we will post it so that if there's any information that you've missed, if you need to go back to see anything, if you just would like to see me one more time, right, then you can go back and view that. We will send that to the board. We'll post it on our website as well. Come on in, welcome, and please make yourselves comfortable. So, just to introduce myself, my name is Julie Dara. I'm the principal here at Lisgar Middle School, and I'm a very proud principal of the school because this is an amazing place for students to learn and to grow. And that's an important part because I really want to talk to you. Many of you are coming from a variety of different peer schools right across the region, coming into Regional Learning Choices program. So one of the things that I always want to talk to families about and to remind them is that the program, the Regional Choices program, is a program that your child potentially will be in, and we'll talk all about that. But also, it's all about the school, right? Because you're also attending the school, and that's an important component when you're making that choice. And you have lots of choices as a parent in terms of where you'd like your child to go. So we are very pleased to talk to you about the phenomenal staff that we have here, the variety of programs that we have here for students, and I am so glad that we can be here in person tonight because as we are getting back up and operational from whatever that was that happened over the last several years, we really want to ensure that our students are here and that they are as involved and as active as they could possibly be. So for some of you, this may be your oldest child or your youngest child or your middle child that you are looking to middle school. And I will tell you this, it's not just the Regional Learning Choices programs that you're looking at, you're also thinking about your child's transition to middle school. And that's also a really important component of making that choice as a parent, and also to understand that not only is your child going to be coming into a Learning Choices program, a regional program, but as well as very naturally they're developing as an adolescent, right? And for some of them, this will be their first experience, well, for all of them, will be their first experience of middle school. And that is, as a parent, that's a whole lot for you and for them, right? So it is always a challenge, and we are here to talk to you about how we can make that transition smoothly for you, and lots of the things that we can ensure as a school that we put in place so that your child is successful. So I'm going to introduce a few people to you. In the back there with the chairs is Mr. Frenza, who is our vice principal. So just so you know, because you need to get to know the faces of the people who are going to be welcoming your children. Right? Over here at the front, we have a few people we'd like to introduce you to. I know they're all very shy, right? So number one, we have our team that is a grade 6 team. So it's Mr. Elsad and Mr. Mishrazinski. If you would just, they are your grade 6 IBT team, and they do work as partners in a large space with all of the grade 6 students together. So when you see one, you see the others. Okay? Right after that, and of course, we have Ms. Goodwin, and she's here tonight. Now, she does have a partner who works with her as well, Mr. Plesko. Mr. Plesko had a child a week ago. So he is a little consumed right now with some other responsibilities. So understandably so, he's also spending some time with his family in the evenings. I think, his wife would not be really happy. Otherwise, you can understand, right? And right beside that, we have our grade 8 team, which is Miss Miles and Miss Kude, right? They're our grade 8 team, as well as that they work very collaboratively together, and we have some students here who are going to talk to you. I'll just introduce them so I don't have to do that after the fact. You want to just stand up, Karen and Raksha? And they're going to talk to you a little bit about their experiences at Lisgar and their experience in IBT, so that you're hearing it directly from kids. And that's, again, really important. You are sending us your kids, right? We want to ensure that your kids have the best possible experience that they can have while they're here with us. Okay, so when we're talking about learning choices, this is some of the information that we need to ensure that we present to all of our families, right? I want you to, like all of our families, to understand, when you are applying to a regional choices program, whether it's IBT, whether it's IB, whether it's SciTech, you are applying for a 3-year program. You're making a 3-year commitment for your child in grades 6, 7, and 8, right? That is the length of time that they will be here with us, right? It's not you come in grade 6, and not that we can't, that you can't ever withdraw, right? But it's a 3-year commitment, right? And we really want you to think about that, because the things that we're going to be doing with kids in the program are over the course of those 3 years. We continue to build on the skills as they come in grade 6. We build on those skills into grade 7 and into grade 8, right? So that's why it's really important that when you're making your choices, that you are very clearly thinking about, we are making a 3-year commitment. Now, there's some logistics for you to also think about when you're making that 3-year commitment, which we will also address with you the best that we can, because you have to consider who's getting them here, right? Especially if you don't live in the direct catchment, and Lisgar is not your school that your child would have come to in middle school. But that, of course, would be the decision that you're making regardless of what regional choices program your child would be going to. So as I said, again, there's lots of decisions to be made, and they need to be made as families, because you are making a commitment, and some of you are also making a commitment to ensuring that your child is able to attend for the 3 years that they're going to be with us. Okay? So there are 6 elementary programs that all of them begin in grade 6. So you cannot sort of say, you know what, I applied for the grade 6 program, I got in, but I didn't want to come here, so can I do that in grade 7 or in grade 8? It's not how it works, right? If your child has applied and they're successful, they are coming in grade 6. If they withdraw from the program, they cannot return to the program in grade 7 or grade 8. They can't sort of just attend another program at that time, because it is a 3-year commitment, right? So that's an important aspect to know, right? The only programs that start in grade 7 are is the regional arts program, right? And Queen Elizabeth School is a grade 7 and 8 school, so that's how their program starts at that time, right? And there are numerous programs, of course, at the secondary level. So I'm going to, right off the bat, because I've heard this question lots and lots of times, having worked with several different regional learning choices programs, if my child, this is what families often ask, if my child is successful in getting in grade 6, right, in IBT, do they automatically get into a program in grade 9? No. That is a separate application process. You don't directly go from this program into the grade 9 program. Your child will likely be successful, right, applying to other regional learning choices programs in grade 9, but I can't guarantee you that. There's not a guaranteed spot in high school. And so I know that lots of parents always want to, ask that question. Is this a direct, road to in grade 9? No. Here's another question that I will very honestly answer for you, that many parents, again, often ask. If my child is not successful getting into the program, or let's say any even regional choices program, will my child still go to university? Yes, right? Will my child still be able to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, account, whatever it is? Yes, right? Regional learning choices programs do not exist in lots of other boards. There are appeal programs, Toronto has some programs, but it is not Ontario-wide, right? There are lots and lots of students that go to their home schools, that go through regular streams, right? And they are very, very successful, go on to be scientists and doctors and everything else, right? I want parents to also understand that not everything hinges on this. Your child will be just fine if they attend or do not attend either way, right? Your child is who they are. They're wonderful kids no matter what, right? So we always want our families to understand that right off the bat. Okay, so as we said, this is a grade 6, 7, or 8, and we're not going to be automatically accepted into programs in secondary school. As you can tell, we've talked about this before, right? So students who are on a visa are not eligible to apply for regional learning choices programs, right? And we do have some students sometimes in schools who are here on a visa, so they will not be able to be applying to this program. It is for Peel students. Now, we probably have some families who are here who are potentially from private schools or whose children attend in kindergarten through grade 5 into private schools. If you live in the Peel region, you also would be eligible to attend the program if you are successful. Right? For yourselves, there are lots of different programs that your child might be interested in. And one of the considerations that always has to be when we're applying to a regional learning choices program is, what is my child interested in, right? And what's the difference? So, for example, if your child has absolutely no interest in science and technology and mathematics, probably Sci-Tech is not the program for them, right? If your child is interested in drama and interested in, arts and things like that, most likely the regional arts programs are better choices for them. It does matter because one of the focus of the programs is exactly what it says in the title. We do talk about with our kids, and we do focus on skills that are related to the world of business. The kids here, as they will kind of talk about, that is a really, really important component of what they learn. Yes, lots of technology, yes, lots of those building skills, but we are also all about entrepreneurship, right? All about risk-taking, all about understanding what it would look like from the perspective of business. So for example, in the science and technology program, their focus is looking at problem solving through science. In our case, we are going to be looking at all kinds of global competencies, skills, all kinds of ways that you solve problems in the world, but our focus is going to be through that business lens, right? How would you look at this? How would you market this? How would you use social media? How would you, all of those are components of what we are going to be looking at in the program. So realistically, right, if your child has zero interest in this, right, you want to consider what is best for you, right, and for your child in that respect, because you're making a 3-year commitment, so you want to ensure that your child is actually really happy in terms of what they're learning. So some questions that will come out for lots and lots of our families, right, is around what kinds of things that we offer, right? And what's the difference between the program at Lisgar and what's the difference between all of the other programs and all of the other offerings? And this is, again, what we want to make sure that we focus. We will post this for you. It'll be posted on the site. So it's okay if you don't take a picture of the slide. It'll be all there for you, right? So this program challenges students in all academic areas. The students who are enrolled in the program will explore the curriculum. We follow the Ontario curriculum. Just like all of the other regional learning choices programs, we still follow the curriculum. So one of the questions that parents have is like, do they take French? Yes. Right? Do they still have music lessons? Absolutely. Do they get art? Absolutely. We follow all of the Ontario curriculum. But as I said, when we explore the curriculum, we do that through we're looking at global competencies, and business marketing is the lens through which we do that, right? So the kinds of skills that your child would be learning here would include business and entrepreneurial skills, right? So risk-taking and being vulnerable, putting yourself out there is part of what kids need to do. It's a very hands-on program, right? They are going to be engaged and involved in all kinds of activities, thinking about how they are going to be starting businesses, what kinds of plans they can build. Math is done through that lens, right? Language, the reading and writing are always done through looking at that component, right? How do we get to understand the world around us, and what would be the business world response to these, right? Actually, these are really, really great skills to have in today's day and age, I will tell you that, okay? So, the use of technology to support the learning. Students will be using technology a lot. So, we do strongly encourage your child, when they are coming into the program and the entire time that they're here, to have a device of their own. They will be using it daily. Are they required to have the most expensive laptop on the planet? No, right? Should they have a device that they can use as theirs? Absolutely. Now, if they don't have one, if it's not available to them, will we provide one for them? Yes, but we strongly encourage them because they will be needing that on a very regular basis. They will be using that technology all the time in order to do their learning. I'm going to look to the teachers and to the students. There are very few things that they do that requires actual paper and pencils, right? Most of these things are based on they're using technology, and as you know that in today's day, very few things are done where we're going to be passing paper around, or we're going to be answering questions on a piece of paper, and that kind of learning. So again, it's really important, right? It doesn't matter what kind of a device that they have. It would be better if it's just something else other than a phone, because it's a little harder to work on, right? So, but we do strongly encourage students to have those, because part of this as well is learning how to use your device responsibly, right, for the purposes of doing the business of schoolwork and doing the business of learning, right? So that's really, really important, right? We focus a lot on fostering resilience and positive attitudes, right? Because as you know, in the world of business, very few people are successful the first try out, right? So you have to sometimes, if you look at any, when the students are doing inquiries and looking into a lot of the leaders, none of them have ever been successful with their first trial of something, right? A lot of the times it is taking them years and years and years before they become successful. We also want to ensure that we're building those skills of resiliency in our students so that they understand risk-taking, resiliency, keep trying, making mistakes, figuring stuff out, problem-solving on the spot sometimes, right, are really, really important skills, and these are the skills that they're going to be developing. Personal management, teamwork, collaboration, cooperation with each other are incredibly important skills, right? We want to ensure that students are lifelong learners because, as you know, in today's world, what's happening today, the kinds of business strategy that you would have today is not going to be something that is going to be successful tomorrow, right? So you have to be on the edge, you have to be constantly rethinking things, you have to be reevaluating. And those are all of the skills that we focus on with students, right? And sometimes they get really frustrated about things, right? Because it's not easy. Those are very challenging kinds of things. But that's okay, because that is what the world demands of us nowadays. It demands that of all of us. But in the world of, as I said, using that business lens, it's really important that they're developing those skills. Hi. I'm going to we'll come back to this. I think I have to do this first. Okay. So as we talked about, the goals of the regional program are, the entrepreneurship, the collaboration, Communication, right? So again, you have to really think about with your child. If your child is somebody who does not like to do a lot of like collaboration or talking and being able to, that's okay as long as your child is also willing to start to learn those skills, right? Because it's okay if you're not really great at that, because we are all not great at something or other, but it's the willingness to learn, and that we really want to emphasize. Not everybody comes in to know exactly what they need to be, what they need to have, but it's the willingness to try and the willingness to learn that's really important, and that we always want to really to focus on. Creativity and innovation, lots of innovation, lots and lots of focus on innovation and using your creativity. We always continue to focus on, of course, being a good global citizen, and as we also said, initiative, right? It doesn't matter that you don't know, but what matters is that you're willing to try. Right? So the kids will talk to you about, in terms of the use of technology, they will talk to you about that. For example, if you go to our YouTube channel, I'm going to plug our YouTube channel for our kids, you will see that we do live stream announcements every single morning, and our IBT kids actually do that for us. They design everything, right? Our only role is that we show up and that we're there for them, but they actually do all of the work, and it's their creativity. They produce, they create, right? They put out the content. And we really want to focus as very much on our students as creators of content rather than consumers of content, right? And that's also one of the focus of the program. So, okay. So if you visit and I know it's hard to see here, peelschools.org, you can learn about all of the elementary programs, and you can learn about any of the information. Now, I know as parents that you're here, the important stuff before the kids talk to you and I hand it over to them are things like what is the boundary, right? Who can and cannot get into the program, okay? So, you need to know, and this will be the same, of course, for every single program, students who are currently in the Peel District School Board or Dufferin Peel School Board, right, are in private schools in Peel. As long as you live in the region of Peel, you are eligible to apply, okay? So if you meet the program criteria and you live outside of the Peel region, you will be offered a spot once there's a spot available, and students from Peel, we've exhausted all of the students from Peel, right? So if you live outside of the boundary of Peel region, is it possible to get in? Yes. Only if there's spots left over after all of the students from Peel have been processed through that, okay? So I will show you the boundary for Lisgar, and you can see the regional boundary is quite large. So our school boundary is, in terms of the city limits, is Ontario Street to McLaughlin Road to east, Highway 403 to the south of 9th Line to west, right? And that is the region of where, in terms of the boundary for the program, right? There is another program in Brampton at Williams Parkway. There's also another program, IBT program, at Alan A. Martin. So one of the questions that occurs is that, okay, well, we live in Alan A. Martin region, but we are, we're going to move to, let's say, to the west, and we'd like to switch between programs. Is that possible? If your child is already in the program, yes, it is possible, but it depends on whether or not we have space, right? And the same vice versa if you're going up to Brampton or if Alan A. Martin. We always communicate with each other in the programs, and if we have a spot, we will take a student from the other program if they've been successful and they've already gotten into the program, and vice versa. It's not so easy because it really is dependent on space, right? And we cannot guarantee that there will be a space available depending on when you want to move. So that's why I really want you to think about, right? You're making a 3-year commitment. You know how your child is getting here, right? During that time. Okay. Right. As we already said, the focus may be different, but we all teach the Ontario curriculum. Your child will get all of the same curriculum that they have in every other place. Okay? Okay. When we're talking about applications, right? If your child is interested and you're interested in applying for the program, you will have to meet the eligibility criteria that is specific to the program of interest. So, for example, that question is the criteria different between Allen A, Williams Parkway, and Lisgar? No, it's the same criteria. They will be looking at the same criteria from all three schools. If your child meets the threshold, right, they will be put into, into a system where at that point there will be a randomization to choose, right, whether your child is, gets, first choice, second choice, is on the waiting list, and so on, okay? And it is the same for each and every single program, right? If they meet the threshold in terms of eligibility for the criteria, and we'll talk about what that is, they automatically go into that pool, and students are randomly chosen from that pool, okay? All right? Really, 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 really important that you know the timelines. And can I please tell you that when you are applying for programs, please, 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 parents, know the email that you use to apply to the program, because we communicate via email all the time to invite your child to this and that, and there's lots of information that comes your way. So if you use some random email that you don't use very often, you forget what it is and you don't check it, you may miss timelines, you may miss all kinds of deadlines. So please ensure that it's something that you check on a regular basis. This is just practical advice over the years that I've learned that works really well. Okay? So it'll work exactly like that. Your information visit, applications open on January 23rd, and they're open until February 7th. And then, acceptances will come at this time, and acceptances will come at that particular time. That will be the first round, then there'll be the second round, then there'll be the third round. We keep going until we exhaust all of our waiting list as much as possible until the last, closing on June 23rd at the end of the school year, right? So, for example, if you're on the waiting list and you're number 15, your number may come up, right? But you may not hear from us right up until June, okay? So, again, if you are, some families kind of are playing like, well, but, I'm on the waiting list over here for this program, and I'm numbered here over here for this program, right? And like, yes, you can call us and find out exactly what your waitlist number is, and yes, you can call us and find out where are we on the wait list, right? We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. But again, it's always dependent on, is somebody ahead of you accepting or not accepting, right? I can't guarantee anything like that, but can you call us and say, hey, Ms. Derek, can you let me know where my child is on the waiting list and what number are you at? Sure. Right? Okay. So, really important, based on self-identification, all African, Black, First Nations, Inuit, Métis students who self-identify and meet the criteria for admission will be accepted into the program without participating in the random selection process, right? That is for all programs, right? The random selection process is completed centrally. Once we know the students who, and we don't actually know your children, so what we see is their student numbers and things like that. Once we submit that information centrally, we don't do anything else. All of that random selection is done outside of the school, right? So, you can't, if you call me and you say, oh, can you help me? There's nothing anybody can do, right? It's done centrally, so please understand that, okay? There is a non-refundable application fee. However, if there is a concern in terms of being able to meet that fee, please let the principal of your current school know. They will let us know, and we will support you with, what we can do with that. Okay? But the non-refundable application fee is generally about $40. The cost of the program yearly is $200. Now, one of the questions from families is, what are you guys doing with that $200, right? We spend it directly on your children, right back to kids. It goes towards paying for experiences for your children. So when they go on trips to see different businesses, when they go to participate in different components, because that's a huge part of the program, is being able to go elsewhere and have experiences that you're going to have so that you can see the world around you and how things work, right? So that's where the costs go towards. It also goes towards paying for a lot of the equipment that the students use, whether that's 3D printers, whether it's the technology that they're using in different facets, whether it's for materials that they're going to be using for building things. All of that is where that money goes towards. We don't get to keep any of it. It has to be spent within the year that we collect it on the students from whom we collect it. So it goes directly back to kids, right? So when you're paying that fee, that's what's happening. Okay? Financial support is of course available to you. So if that's a concern, please make sure that you're letting us know. Okay? What happens once you apply? Okay? Once you have successfully applied, right, you will receive a confirmation email. So that's why I'm saying to you, please make sure that you have an email address that you check regularly, and you have submitted your application online. If you do not receive a confirmation within 24 hours, call us, right? Because there might be something that's happened with your application that you need to we need to talk about. Okay? All right. So there is a process following that as well, right? As we talked about, you've applied. We've reviewed the report cards and everything else. And yes, if your child is an appeal student in Appeal District School Board school, we can have access to that information right away, right? Because we have access to that. If your child is not Appeal District School Board student, you will need to provide us with that information. You will need to send us, drop off, email us that information, but in report cards. The other piece is that we have lots and lots of students with individual education plans where they may need potentially some accommodations or some kinds of modifications. If your child does have an individual education plan, please let us know and share that plan with us. We don't share that with anybody else, but we make sure that we do all that we can in order for the participation component, so that we can prepare for what your child needs, right? So that we can ensure that we meet their needs, right, on that during that day. That's why we need to know that. We need to have that information, because otherwise we have no way of knowing it. Okay? All right? So, and if we said once the student meets the application criteria, their application is entered into the random selection process in each program, right? Once the random selection process is completed, the computer will randomly assign a number to each applicant who have successfully met the application criteria for each program, and spaces for the program will be offered based on that. Okay. So, the participation component. This is the one that parents really worry about. Right? No, your child cannot study for this. Right? Please don't say to your child, you need to build up your skills. Right now, let's go. We're going to take you to tutoring, and you're going to be like focusing in your no. Right? It is a participation component for a reason. There are some basic components to this. There is a written task, right? That'll be kind of a math, reading, writing task. That's about a half an hour. And then there is a performance task, right? So students will be working in teams. We are looking for collaboration, cooperation. We're looking for creativity, thinking skills, problem solving. You can't study for those, right? And it does not mean, so sometimes parents are like, does my child have to be like, do they need to be able to code? No, right? Do they need to be able to do like advanced mathematics? No. It is, all of our tasks are based on what your child would be able to do in the grade 5 curriculum, right? We're not asking them to do anything beyond that, right? We are just getting a baseline to understand where your child is at and how we are looking for how are they solving problems, how are they collaborating, how are they cooperating when they're working in a teamwork environment, right? So that's kind of what we'll be assessing. So really important for that day. It will be during the day. Once you know the date of the performance tasks, we will assign you the time and we will assign them the teams. They will be coming to Lisgar to do that. They will be here. Please make sure that you mark that date on your calendar, because you will need to be able to be available to bring them and pick them up, right? So they'll be here for about an hour and 15 minutes or so, given the time that they need to be processed. We will give you a time to arrive. We will give you a time for pickup. Please make sure you're available on that day, right? If there's anything around that, please let us know in advance. But because we process 500 applications and we need to process lots and lots of students, we don't have the availability to say, oh, we can accommodate you at this time or we can accommodate you at this time, right? We kind of randomly do this. We also need to ensure that for the participation component, students are in teams where they're also going to be feeling comfortable, right? So we need to organize it in such a way. That's why we're saying that if they're, on that day, please, that's your time. That's when your child needs to be here, right? So please make sure that you've made arrangements for that day, right? And we will send that in advance to you, and so that you are well aware. So please, 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 I really encourage you that you are that you're prepared and that you've noted that date and you've made some arrangements for that, right? Okay, as we talked about the offers and acceptances and all of those other components, right? If your child has applied to multiple programs, let's say they have gotten into one program, but they are on the waiting list for this program and they're number 2, well, you get to choose. You get to play that game, right? Do you accept here? Do you accept there? I know it's lots of stress. That's why I'm saying that, yes, you can call us. Yes, we will let you know where they are on the list and all of those kinds of things. But I know it's really stressful for parents, right? Because you are really trying to organize your life around your child's future for the next 3 years. We understand that, right? And so you have some decisions to make. So lots of times parents will call and they will ask me, they'll say, Ms. Dara, do you think my child should come to IBT? I can't answer that question. Only you can, right? You and your child and your family can answer that question. Would we like your child to come here? Absolutely. But, can I answer the question of whether or not this is the better choice for your child or another program's a better choice for your child? I can't, right? You know your child best. You've known them way longer than I have. I haven't even gotten to know them yet, so I can't really answer those questions. But I thank you for calling and asking me for my input. Okay, as we talked about in terms of local and out-of-region applicants, right, as we consider them, that's, again, information that's all there. Documentation, if you're out of region, I won't spend a lot of time for that because that's generally not a lot of our applicants, but just in case the information is there for you, and it's the same information for any program, so that you can understand that, right? We may request different kinds of documentation if you are an out-of-region student. Okay, transportation, always the question. No, busing is not included, right? So yes, you need to find transportation for your child to get them here if they're in a regional learning choices program, right? For example, if your child is a student in, that would be coming to Lisgar anyways, this would be their middle school, and if your child lives within the busing boundary at that time, yes, they would get busing. Otherwise, no, right? Otherwise, no. So that's why you need to make arrangements for that, and that is a consideration in terms of how you get them there. As your child gets older, some of our kids, lots of our kids, as they get into grade 7 and 8, they do take city transit, My Way, and things like that. So again, those are considerations that you may want to consider. Okay. It is private busing, as we saw them out there. Lots of our families also, carpool. They arrange for it. All we can do is, I can't tell you who to carpool with, what's good for you, what's not good for you. We can just let you know that these are the families who are interested in carpool, and then you would be organizing that amongst yourselves. Okay? We take no responsibility for that because, of course, we can't, right? We can't organize that for families. Okay? Some of our kids are lovely children, right? If you have questions, call us directly, visit our website, and visit the appeal website, and they will let you, answer most of the questions for you. And I'm going to, just for a minute here, turn it over to our very wonderful students, and they can talk to their experiences, and they can tell you way more about what their experience is like and what your child's experience will be like. So Raksha, Akira?
What's up, families? Hello, my name is Raksha.
And I'm Kieran, and we are both 8th grade students here at Lisgar Middle School's IBT program.
Over the course of our 3 years here at Lisgar, we have learned so much about business and technology.
From 3D printing and learning how to start a business, all the way down to coding your own app and creating your very own business, Lisgar Middle School's IBT is the place to be.
In addition to cutting-edge technology and resources, IBT heavily focuses on 21st century skills such as project-based learning and the idea of innovation.
The skills and experiences we have learned over the course of the past 3 years is truly incredible. The program challenges you to think critically and explore new techniques. IBT is the perfect learning environment for anyone who enjoys business, technology, or both. The experiences that you will have here include exclusive field trips just for IBT students and team building exercises.
Yes, that's true. For example, we did visit Activate, where we were able to explore some team building activities. Now, I do feel that IBT has personally helped me grow into a very confident person. As, for example, I'm here today talking in front of this huge crowd here. And that I solely believe is because IBT makes people feel confident in who they are and their constant actions towards success. That is also because of our lovely support from our amazing IBT teachers here who constantly support us every single day.
The International Business and Technology program allows us to dive deeper into the standard Ontario curriculum and study it in new and creative ways. The program helps you to develop essential skills that you will need for the rest of your life, like communication and innovation. Thank you for your time.
Go Lions!
As I said, we have some amazing kids. I'm just going to leave that playing in the background so you can see some of the work that our kids do. And we're going to open it up for questions for you. If you have any questions that we possibly have not, of course, please yell it out right there. Yeah, go ahead, yell it out.
Is there any provision for programs like choice 1, choice 2, choice 3?
So are there provisions for applying to multiple programs? You could.
Single application can have multiple choices. If I didn't get to, I can get to the other one.
So you have to apply to each of the programs individually. Okay? Go ahead.
So do you have any historical data like how much students applied last year and how many spots you have for this year?
Okay, so this is commonly a question, and the question is, what's the historical data around how many kids, how many students apply, and how many do we take in? We take in 56 students a year. How many students apply? Anywhere between 400 to 500 kids. Okay? Yep.
Do you teach coding as a part of the curriculum?
Well, coding is now part of the mathematics curriculum, and coding has always been part of any curriculum. That is done in regional programs. So any of the programs where you see technology attached, generally there's a component. Can I also tell you that most of our kids come with better coding skills than we have, right? Now, do they, many of them will be like, they're looking at us and like, well, we already know Python, what are you talking about, right? So that's generally an interest of a lot of the kids anyways, right? And there's pretty much nothing anybody can't learn on YouTube nowadays. But do we work on those skills with kids? But we just try to channel that towards things that are going to be productive rather than, learning how to hack, right? All the way at the back there. Yell it out. Go ahead. Okay. So you would have to look at the boundary and where the boundary is for IBT for your regional choices. In some cases, people live kind of like, and the board decides what the boundary is. So make sure that you go onto the website. It will tell you, if you are here, this is the school you apply to. And once you apply, let's say you apply to the wrong school, we will fix that for you. We'll actually call you and say, your application needs to be for Alan A. Martin. We are going to switch it over there because that's your boundary. Because that happens. People apply to the wrong places. We do help to fix that. But go ahead, yell it out. Right. So yes, it works that way. So your child, you apply, right? We process the application. They come in for that, performance task, right? And they're coming in for that participation component. We do the assessment on that day. We do the assessment, and any student, let's say we had 500 applicants, they all met the threshold. All 500 then would go into the random selection process, right? So it doesn't matter how many students met the criteria, as long as they've met the threshold, right? They will go into the random selection process. Yes, right. So it is weighed higher on the participation component, right? We do the assessment in terms of math, that reading kind of things, but we weigh very much more heavily on the actual participation component. That's why I'm saying to you, please don't go home and drill your child with things, right? It's the participation component that is going to be up to them. Don't forget, we've done this before, so we are looking for your child to be the 9 and 10-year-old that they are when they're coming to us, right? So our expectation is around what a 9 and 10-year-old would do, not what a 40-year-old would do, right, in this situation. So please don't go out of your way to make sure that you're making your child, don't stress, right? Do not stress anybody out. Your child will be just fine. Just let them be them, okay? I'm going to go over here. Go ahead. Unfortunately not to be virtual, but if you're not going to be here, can you please let us know in advance, and then we will see what's possible, okay? We can't accommodate everyone who's not going to be here at that time, right? That's what I'm saying. Please save the date, please save the date. Right, go ahead. Every child. The participation component is for every child who applies. They cannot be put into the random selection process without doing the participation component. Okay, we have. So the dates of the participation component will actually, it's on there. Off the top of my.
It's February 16th.
February 16th. February 16th. Put it in your calendar right now. February 16th for IBT participation component. No, it's a really great question. What does the schedule for an IBT student look like? Most of what they do is integrated, right? So if the teachers work together, they could be doing, even if they're working on a math class, there might be language components to it, there might be science components to it. Most of it is hands-on. Most of it is around problem solving, so the assessment is happening all around. We really try to integrate skills, not that it's any one particular thing that they're doing. So. Right, so things like when it's phys ed, they go to phys ed class, right? When it's music, so one of the things as well, that's a really good question around music, we strongly encourage, because most of our students in IBT become, are in the instrumental music, and always we have a few who are not. So we really encourage them, because then it's more most of the class is in instrumental music. But again, we don't force it on kids, but it's strongly encouraged. Most of them will opt for the instrumental music component. Yep. They have the option of using if they want to solve it, but yes, I mean, but they're not going to be, they're not doing sort of like, 2 plus, that kind of, they will be looking at more kind of, as I said, problem solving around things. They are taught the same skills as every other student in terms of the curriculum, but they are going to be using that in terms of applying it in a variety of different ways. So they're learning these skills in order to apply to different things, right? So that's why they often, yes. Yes. Here. When it comes to math, Michelle says, come up here.
On behalf of grade 6s, we are fully digital. We do everything on the computer. Every math, every lesson is posted for you, all the resources are posted for you. Everything will be on the Google Classroom. So they have the device starting day 1. Everything is on digital. Nope. We have whiteboards, so when they work collaboratively together, they're on the walls working with the partners, and we're just taking the example. There is nothing on paper. Yes?
So the math is related to the regular programs, or is it only related to like IBT, like commerce or finance?
So the question is math related to the regional program or to IBT, or is it related, it is the regular Ontario curriculum, except that what they might be talking about, how they are integrating, there will always be a business lens, right? Because that's what the program is. The focus is that. So it's always going to have that lens. We will still teach the Ontario curriculum. We have to. We don't have a choice, right? We can't change the curriculum. So always the Ontario curriculum will be. Okay, go ahead. So the question is, the day that you're not supposed to study for, that you have to be here, what do we call that day? We call it the participation component, okay? Yes, the student, for the participation component, the student has to be in person. They have to be here because it's a collaborative component. So they can't do it somewhere else, right? No, they have to participate in person, right? We can let you know how many. So the question was, do we get to know how many students reach the threshold? If you call us, we can give you that number, but it won't necessarily help you, right? Right, if we say 400, right? So, because the random selection, and this is always like the random selection is not by us. So your child, if they're one of the 400, I don't know where they sit in terms of the random selection, right? Okay. This is a really excellent question for you, for those of you who have children who are in the enhanced or gifted programs. Their individual education plans, we will follow. They will still be provided with enhancement. They are still going to be IPRs, still placed here in the program, right? The other question that often parents ask, so my child is currently in French immersion. Will they continue to be in French immersion? No, right? Because if you're choosing the Regional Learning Choices program, you are withdrawing from French immersion. Yes, we have a lot of students who have chosen to withdraw from French immersion and to come to, Mr. Al-Sad is nodding his head because he's also a French teacher. He will let you know a lot of our students came out of French immersion. That's the case with a lot of regional programs, but they do try to go a little faster because a lot of the kids know a lot of the French. They try to gear it towards that, but we also have kids who have not come from French immersion, right? So please understand that once you withdraw from French immersion, that's also a decision for you to make, okay? Right, yell out your question. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering how much homework is given.
Okay, so don't worry about homework because students are not really given like homework, right? It's more like they're continuing to work on that project-based, their inquiry. They may be working on these things. There might be components that they're working on at home, right? They might be working together using technology at home to complete things or to figure out things or to problem solve, brainstorm, those kinds of things. But it's not always kind of that traditional sense of homework, right? And that'll vary depending on what they're working on. When they're working on certain projects and they're making stuff, it may be more. And there's some days where you're like, how come you're not doing anything right now, right? That's okay too. Okay, go ahead, sir. Excellent question. At Lisgar, the start for school is 8:25 a.m. We finish at 2:25 p.m. That means that your child can be here anytime. Supervision starts at 8:10 a.m. They come into the building by 8:20, and you're in class by 8:25. Okay? Because that's important. Okay, so the question is, what part of the component of the program is rigid teaching and how much is sort of independent? So I'm sure they will tell you that they provide instruction, but there's not like rigid teaching, right? Right. So it's not like they're giving instruction for an hour and then the kids are working on. They're often like, it will depend on what the subject is and what's required. It's often not like sit down, listen for an hour. It'll be like, okay, this is kind of what we're thinking about. Let's brainstorm. You might be going off and doing something. You may be coming back together. We might be doing more instruction. It's very fluid, right? So don't think rigid, think fluid. It depends on what's happening at the time. It depends on what students are choosing to do because their choice is really important, right? Absolutely. The Ontario curriculum is still taught. As I said, the Ministry of Education says we have to. We can't get away from that, right? So we will have to teach the Ontario curriculum no matter what.
So if a child chooses IBT for middle school, would it be possible for him or her to choose a different regional program in secondary years? Like if they choose to go for a SciTech instead?
You mean it in grade 9?
In grade 9.
Right. So the question is, if your child is an IBT in middle school, can they choose a different regional program in high school? Yes. They can choose whatever they want and apply to whatever programs exist in high school or go back to their home school. All of those are choices. Okay? Go ahead.
Sorry, but with their school and if they have to go to grade 6 in their school, but you're saying that the IBT program starts by grade 6. So are we taking them out of their schools to put them in here?
Yes. So if some schools are K to 6, right? So your child would be leaving that school and coming here to do their grade 6 year, right? So even if your child is at a school where it's a K to 6 instead of a K to 5, your child would be coming to Lisgar in grade 6. That would be their school. Okay, we had some questions. Oh, sorry, over here. So you're.
I have a couple of questions. So one of the students mentioned that as part of field trips or one of them was an activity. My questions are, what is a recent example of a business that applies to all the grades 6, 7, and 8, or it's only grade 7?
So, for example, sometimes it's all of the like grade 6. So the question is, when they go to visit businesses or they're going on trips and things like that, for experiences, do they do it all as grade 6, 7, and 8, or is it just sometimes grade 7 or grade 8? It'll vary because there's different components in building on skills every year. So what they do in grade 6, right, they're establishing it in grade 7. So for example, our grade 7s went to the one-of-a-kind show. The grade 6s or the grade 8s didn't, right? So, and when they went to Activate, they went all as a big group. So it'll always depend, and that also can change from year to year, right? Because there's different experiences that they might be trying out in different years, right? Okay, so there's a few more questions. We're going to get to people who haven't had a chance. Yes, young man, go ahead.
What are the other clubs and activities outside the program at Lisgar?
Right, excellent question. We provide all kinds of athletics. As I said, we provide instrumental music as a program. We provide all kinds of clubs like, coding club, whatever the kids want as a club, drama clubs, all of the usual kinds of things. So lots and lots of extracurricular activities. Also, there's the skills challenges that our students are a part of, and there's just whatever you want, right? So any of the athletics, any of the other kinds of things that you're interested in, generally we provide like most other middle schools. Okay? Okay, back here. Go ahead. Yell it out. Can you say it really loud? Is there an athletics high school? Is there an athletics high school? Oh, yes, there is an Student Athletic Council, there's also a Library Council, there's also an Arts Council, there's all kinds of those, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. So currently I'm on work permit and my kid is on study permit, but she has the visibility for the next 3 years. So I think, can we still go ahead and apply? We stay in Peel region.
You would have to check with the Peel District School Board as well to make sure, just make sure that you go through all of the documentation that they would require. Because if we're talking about visa and you are here on a work permit, generally yes, but just make double check with the Peel District School Board, right?
Okay, because I think I heard you saying like you cannot apply if you're on visa.
Again, it depends on what kind, and I don't want to answer that question because that's not the expertise for us, right?
Okay.
So make sure that you check with the Peel District School Board. Yes, ma'am.
So like you said, what type of class? So is there like, do you do like plays, like school plays or something?
Do we do school plays and things like that? Yes, depending on the years. In the last few years, no, because of COVID, but yes, we have done that. We do graduations and all of those kinds of normal, regular things that schools do as well. Okay? Yes.
So you mentioned that if we apply and within 24 hours we don't get the confirmation, we have to reach out to the school. So will it be this school or the home school?
Okay, so when you don't get a confirmation, make sure you reach out to us, right? Because your home school will not know whether or not that's happening. Okay. You know what? I know lots of people need to leave, so if you have questions, we'll be up here, and if we can sort of answer those for you individually. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. Thank you so much.